With inflation on its way up and the pricing of everything going through the roof, I thought it would be a good time to talk about 10 prepping items I ordered on Amazon back in 2019 and compare their prices to the same items' prices right now in 2022. This gives you some real-world evidence about just how expensive things are becoming, and it tells you about the real inflation numbers rather than what the mainstream media seems to keep reporting on. And honestly, this is something we should be paying attention to because preparedness is getting more and more expensive, which makes it harder and harder to get to in the sense of goals we have for self-reliancy. And if you're worried about trying to beat inflation and you want to be as prepared as possible, then hit the subscribe button below because hopefully this information will give you some things to think about. I'll have links in the description for some of these items just so you have an idea as to what they might be. You can check the information that we're talking about here, and it just gives you some ideas about some things you might not have thought about in the past, so I figured why not. Now, the first thing on this list is a Camelback armor back, which is a water hydration bladder system you usually hook onto the back of a plate carrier or any other thing that has MOLLE webbing on it. And this particular model back in 2019 cost $46.98. But now in 2022, it's running $69.99, which gives an overall price increase of 33%. That is a pretty big increase, okay? And just so you're aware, some redundancy will be in this video because some of the items here will be part of an SHTF loadout I may or may not have been building at the time. And you'll also see some discrepancies in the screenshots because basically on some things you'll see last ordered at this date. And then on the order information I show you, it'll say that this was ordered on this date. Well, that's because I've ordered those items multiple times so that if it shows up sooner than the date I'm showing you in the order information, it's just because I ordered it again since that order, but I want to go off 2019's prices. Hopefully that didn't confuse you because it definitely confused me in the middle of that sentence. Now, number 2 on this list is going to be a tourniquet pouch, another MOLLE adaptable pouch that is made for holding tourniquets. In 2019, it was $7.99. Now in 2022, it's $9.99, which is a 20% price increase, okay? So you can see we're starting with 33%, 20%, but don't worry, inflation's only at 7%, and the CPI is just telling us it's small numbers any day of the week, right? Let's move on. Number 3 on this list is another MOLLE pouch, but don't be freaked out because there's other stuff on this list besides that, I swear to God. But I just wanted to let you know that these things are part of like a loadout I was building at the time. So this radio pouch, right? It is in 2019 running for $13.99, and now in 2022, that same MOLLE capable radio pouch is $15.99, which is a 12% increase in price. So we're still increasing, it is what it is, okay? Moving on to number 4, which is nothing MOLLE related, so you're welcome. This item is something you should probably pay attention to though. Item number 4 on this list is oxygen absorbers, which we use here in the preparedness community quite a bit for long-term food storage, right? Well, in 2019, I bought a 100 pack of 200cc oxygen absorbers for $9.99. In 2022, that same pack of oxygen absorbers is $16.99. That's a 41% increase in price. In fact, it's the highest increase in price of anything on this list, and maybe one of the most important items on this list as well because of what we use it for, storing food for the long term. And coming up on this food crisis, storing more food is imperative. So that is definitely something you should pay attention to. Just gonna let you know that right now before it gets even more expensive. Now, item number 5 on the list. Long time ago, I did a review for a Kbar sheath. I said it was Kydex. I know it's not Kydex, but it's plastic, okay? It's polymer, whatever. At the end of the day, people search for Kydex. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But this sheath back in 2019 was $13.87. That same sheath in 2022 is $19.89, which is a 30% increase in price. And look, everybody loves a good old fighting Kbar, but you wanna have a nice sheath for it, they're only getting more expensive, all right? So moving on to item number 6 on the list is going to be first aid shears. Now, first aid shears, what are they for? You cut clothing off of somebody when you have to treat a wound. It's just what they're for, very basic, right? A 2-pack in 2019 was running $11.95. That same 2-pack in 2022 is $11.95. So no increase, no decrease, no change in price at all. I guess shears are immune to inflation, so good for them, but hey, I thought that was interesting and worth sharing. Now, number 7 on this list is a USB battery charger. I bought it with the intent of having it for a bug out bag and being able to charge rechargeable batteries for small electronic devices, okay? And it has done a pretty good job for me, but back in 2019, it was $12.99. Now in 2022, here's what's interesting. It's on sale or whatever, so it is what it is, but at the time of this video, it's running $12.69. So that's actually a 2% decrease in price. So not bad, I guess. Save some money and get your USB rechargeable battery charging stations now, so that way you can save a little money. Just how it works sometimes, I guess. But thought that was interesting. Moving on to number 8 on this list is something that everybody has in their first aid kits and their blowout kits, and it's a capable piece of equipment, okay? A 6-inch Israeli bandage, which is great for any trauma kit you might have. In 2019, I bought it for $9.37. Now in 2022, that same Israeli bandage is running $12. That's a 22% price increase, all right? So building out your first aid kits is more and more expensive regardless of however you want to look at it. That Israeli bandage is 22% more expensive now than it was back then, okay? Now, I bought a book in 2019, which I highly suggest. It's a great book. It's got great information in it, excellent graphics. It's nice to look at. It's called The Prepper's Long-Term Survival Guide, okay? In paperback, in 2019, I bought it for $13.72. And now in 2022, that same paperback is $13.19. So that's a 4% decrease in price. So another item that would be worth getting now, I guess, compared to 3 years ago when you think it would be more expensive. In fact, it's cheaper. So there you go, a great book you might want to pick up that is now actually less money than it used to be. You're welcome, all right? And number 10 on this list, okay? Number 10 is an homage to Canadian Prepper for making this item so popular. But at the same time, it is something that is probably worth having. Toilet paper tablets, right? I use them in bug out bags and things of that nature because they don't take up any space, they're easy to use, and you do need things like toilet paper from time to time, especially once in a while at 12 in the morning on the side of the road. But don't worry about that little incident. All I'm trying to say is that toilet paper tablets definitely have their place. And in 2019, I bought a 100-pack for $7.99. Here in 2022, that same 100-pack is $9.99, which is a 20% increase in price. So you can see a trend here over these 10 items that mostly they're going up in price, okay? One item didn't change at all, and 2 items actually decreased, but they only decreased by 2% and 4%, whereas the increases were substantial, all right? The lowest increase was 12%. Everything else was 20 or above for the most part. So that being said, what's the total we're talking about here? What are we talking about? Those 10 items, if I built that cart out right now compared to that same cart in 2019. 2019, it was $148.84. That same cart right now is $192.67. That's a 23% increase in price from 3 years ago. And that's what inflation really looks like right now. It's not 7%, it's not 8.5%, it's 23% based on this information at least. And look, not everything's 23% more expensive as I demonstrated in this video, but the whole concept is that things are getting expensive and in many ways much more expensive. 20% is a lot. And when you think about businesses, especially small businesses, which generally fuel a lot of the American economy, they run on very tight margins. And in fact, many small businesses are happy if they clear a 10% profit line because honestly, it's very hard to make a profit as a small business. And yet, we're talking about 23% increase of price from 3 years ago. So what do you think that does to these businesses? Things are getting very difficult. And look, do what you can in the sense of preparedness, but make sure it makes sense financially because we all still have to survive our daily lives as well as whatever emergency crisis might arrive. And that is something we have to keep remembering in the preparedness community. It's also about day-to-day life, okay? Hopefully this information was helpful for you. Hopefully you got something out of it or it just gave you some ideas either about prepping items you hadn't thought about before or maybe just about the fact that you should pull the trigger on some things because they're going to be more expensive very soon. These are all concepts that you have to work out on your own, but I just wanted to provide this information. Leave comments below if you have personal experience with the same type of pricing. If you have, information from old orders and then you can see the new prices, leave it in the comments and just tell us, hey, look, this thing I bought back then is 40% more expensive now. That way we have a heads up as to something we might need to be looking at as well. And at the same time, if you have any questions for me or anything like that, you can always go to magicprepper.com. But I just wanted to share this with you. I hope it gave you something to think about, and that's gonna be it for Magic Prepper.